I knew the invitation was a trap the moment I opened it. The parchment was delicate, almost too delicate to touch, like spun spider silk, and the ink, gold that shimmered in the light, but I swear it moved when I wasn't looking. An invitation to a royal Fae dinner party was a rare honor, sure. There was always a catch. The Fae, for all their glittering charm, were notorious for tricking mortals into their world, and once you were there, well, you never left the same. The dinner party was tonight, and I had one mission: don't eat anything, don't drink anything, not a crumb, not a drop. The Fae are masters of etiquette, and a single misstep, like say indulging in a Fae-made hors d'oeuvre, would mean I'd be trapped in their realm, possibly forever. But offending them was just as risky, so there I stood, before an ancient oak door in the middle of a moonlit grove, trying to figure out how to survive an enchanted dinner party without actually eating a thing. The door creaked open, and two Fae attendants, tall, impossible creatures with skin like polished marble and eyes like storm clouds, ushered me inside. The grand hall was beyond words. Stars, real stars, twinkled in the ceiling, and the walls seemed to shimmer and shift, as if the room couldn't decide whether it was made of crystal, water, or mist. At the center of the room was a long table laden with food, more food than I had ever seen in my life, goblets of shimmering liquid, platters of meats that glistened as though they were made of sunlight itself, and fruits that seemed to glow from within. My stomach growled treacherously, but I shoved that feeling down. No matter how beautiful, every morsel on that table was dangerous. "Ah, our mortal guest has arrived!" A voice like a silver bell rang through the hall. The Fae Queen herself stood at the head of the table, her hair a cascade of moonlight, her gown woven from stardust. She smiled at me, but it was the kind of smile that made me think she knew every thought I'd ever have, and might use them against me at any moment. "Your Majesty," I said, bowing deeply, "it's an honor to be here. I needed to get through this evening without offending anyone, and without, well, being turned into a tree, or a butterfly, or whatever else happened to rude mortals at Fae dinner parties." She gestured gracefully to the seat beside her. "Of course. Join us, please. We've prepared a feast in your honor." As I took my seat, I felt the eyes of the entire court on me. Their gazes were sharp, curious, and some hungry. I could feel it. They were waiting, watching for the moment I'd slip up. But I wasn't going to give them that satisfaction. A Fae with long, silver fingers passed me a goblet filled with a liquid that shimmered in every color of the rainbow. It smelled intoxicating, like fresh rain and summer nights. "A toast!" Queen said, raising her own goblet high. Now this was tricky. You can't refuse a toast. That's just bad manners. But I also couldn't drink. So I raised the goblet, brought it to my lips, and paused. "To your eternal beauty and unmatched grace," I said, my voice dripping with admiration. Then, in one smooth motion, I tilted the goblet just enough for the liquid to brush against my lips without actually drinking. I smiled at the Queen as if I'd taken a full swig. The Fae Queen's eyes glittered with amusement. "Clever," she murmured, but didn't press the issue. "Good. One challenge down, about 100 more to go." Then came the food. Platters floated across the table, settling in front of each guest. A Fae servant placed a plate before me, roasted pheasant with a glaze that sparkled like diamonds, surrounded by fruits that looked plucked straight from a dream. It was the most delicious looking thing I'd ever seen, and I knew it would probably turn me into a toad the second I took a bite. "Please, eat," the Queen said, eyes twinkling with mischief. It is rude to refuse the hospitality of the Fae. I smiled. Your hospitality is legendary, I said smoothly, and I would be honored to partake. But as it happens, I've recently made a vow to fast for 3 days in honor of an ancient custom of my people. It would be a grave insult to them if I were to break that vow. The Queen's eyes narrowed ever so slightly. I could feel the tension at the table rise. Fae were nothing if not masters of trickery, and they weren't used to being outmaneuvered by mortals. How fascinating, the Queen said, her voice light but edged with danger. But surely a sip of wine is not too much to ask of one so honored. I leaned in as if sharing a secret. Ah, but your Majesty, the last time I sipped wine at such a grand occasion, I found myself writing poetry for days, lost in the beauty of the experience. I fear if I were to drink tonight, I might never leave your court, composing verse in praise of your Majesty forever. I gave a little wink as if it were all in good fun. The Queen's lips twitched. Was that a smile? Very well, she said, leaning back in her chair. But do be sure to enjoy yourself, mortal. We wouldn't want to leave you unsatisfied. I grinned. I wouldn't dream of it. The dinner continued, with course after course appearing before me, each more exquisite and dangerous than the last. I praised the artistry of the dishes, complimented the Fae on their impeccable taste, and generally talked my way through every attempt to get me to eat or drink. I offered toasts, I admired the decor, I asked about Fae history and lore. I even managed to tell a few amusing stories about human parties. Anything to keep the conversation away from the fact that I wasn't touching the food. By the end of the night, I had charmed the court, or at least entertained them enough that they seemed to have forgotten I hadn't eaten. The Queen herself looked at me with something resembling approval. You are an intriguing mortal, she said, rising from her seat as the dinner came to a close. Perhaps we shall invite you again? I bowed low. It would be my deepest honor, Your Majesty. Next time I will be sure to break my fast just for the occasion. She laughed, a sound like wind through silver bells. I look forward to it. As I stepped back through the oak door and into the cool night air, I breathed a sigh of relief. I had survived a Fae dinner party, kept my wits, and even managed to get an invitation back. Not bad for a night's work. But as I walked away, I couldn't shake the feeling that the next invitation wouldn't be so easy to navigate. The Fae didn't forget, and neither would I. 3 days had passed since my first dinner with the Fae, and as the sun set on the third day, I felt the familiar tug of anticipation and dread. The Fae court had extended another invitation, this time in a beautifully crafted scroll, sealed with shimmering wax. I had been preparing for this moment, practicing my charm and wit, and more importantly, plotting my strategy to survive a second night of culinary temptations without offending my enchanting hosts. As I approached the grove, the moon hung low in the sky, casting a silver glow on the gnarled trees that surrounded the Fae court. The ancient oak door swung open to reveal the same grand hall as before. This time it sparkled with even more vibrant colors, as if the stars had come down to join the festivities. Fae attendants flitted about, their delicate wings leaving trails of light in their wake, while laughter and music filled the air, an enchanting symphony that beckoned me inside. The table was set anew, laden with an even greater spread of magnificent dishes, platters brimmed with glimmering fruits and vibrant salads. meats that seemed to dance with life, and goblets overflowing with iridescent liquids that shimmered like liquid rainbows. My stomach grumbled defiantly, a reminder of the fast I had endured, but I steeled myself, remembering my purpose, to survive another night without falling into the Fae's traps. Ah, our esteemed guest returns, the Fae Queen greeted me, her voice melodious and teasing. She wore a gown that seemed to shimmer with its own light, accentuating her otherworldly beauty. Her eyes sparkled with mischief as she gestured for me to join her at the head of the table. I bowed deeply, careful to maintain my composure. I am honored to be here once more, Your Majesty, I replied, trying to match her enthusiasm with my own charm. I have returned from my fast, as promised. Then you must be famished, she cooed, her smile both inviting and predatory. But let's see if you can resist the delights we have prepared for you this time. Her eyes glimmered as if she relished the challenge. As I took my seat, the Fae attendants began to present the dishes one by one. Each offering was more extravagant than the last, and the fragrances wafting from the platters were intoxicating. My resolve wavered momentarily as a particularly enticing dish of honey-glazed roast duck was placed before me, glistening under the amber light. Remembering my plan, I leaned forward with a bright smile. Your chefs are truly talented. I can only imagine the kind of magic it takes to create such wonders. Pray, do tell me, what secret ingredients do you use? The queen's expression shifted, intrigued by my diversion. Ah, the secret is love, she said, her eyes twinkling. And perhaps a hint of moonlight for flavor. He laughed lightly, and the court echoed her mirth. It was working. I had bought myself time. As the dishes continued to come, I employed my trusty tactics. I praised each dish lavishly, expressing my admiration for the vibrant colors and beautiful presentations. I inhaled deeply, letting the scents envelop me without allowing a single bite to pass my lips. Your court knows how to please the senses, I declared, gesturing towards the vibrant array of food. What a sight to behold! Would you not like to taste our famed moon fruit salad? The Fae with ethereal wings asked, her voice smooth like silk. Oh, I wouldn't dare touch it, replied, leaning in conspiratorially. I've heard of its magical properties. It's said to glow when tasted. I would never forgive myself if I stole the chance for someone more deserving to experience its enchantment. A ripple of laughter spread through the court. It was true. The Fae valued their creations and would appreciate my cleverness rather than take offense. With every refusal, I felt the tension loosen, and the Fae began to see me not as an outsider, but as a delightful participant in their playful banter. As the evening wore on, I found myself facing the challenge of the goblets once more. One of the Fae approached with a shimmering cup filled with a deep blue liquid that sparkled with tiny flecks of light. To celebrate your return, he said, extending the goblet toward me. Here it came again, the challenge of toasting without drinking. Ah, but I must honor my fast, I said, taking the goblet but not bringing it to my lips. I wouldn't want to ruin such a festive occasion by succumbing to temptation. I could make a toast instead. A toast, then, the queen encouraged, her voice sweet and teasing. I cleared my throat, raising the goblet high. To the Fae, whose beauty and magic light up even the darkest corners of our world. May your laughter echo through the ages. I smiled brightly, careful to tilt the goblet in such a way that the liquid shimmered enticingly, but didn't spill or touch my lips. Very clever, the queen laughed, her approval evident. You've truly become a master of etiquette, dear mortal. As the dinner progressed, I continued to engage the Fae in conversation, weaving stories about the human world and sharing tales of my own adventures. I was careful to keep the focus on them, always asking questions that flattered their culture and interests. What a wonder it must be to dance with stars, I remarked, genuinely curious about their lives. Do you ever tire of such splendor? With each compliment, I sensed the court warming to me. The queen leaned in, intrigued. You mortals have such unique perspectives, she mused. What else do you find fascinating about us? Your connection to nature, I said, gesturing broadly. You embody the very essence of the seasons and the stories of the earth itself. There is magic in your very existence that mortals can only dream of. The queen's eyes sparkled with appreciation, and I felt a surge of confidence. I was winning them over, securing my place among them without consuming their food or drink. Finally, as the evening drew to a close, the queen rose once more. This has been a delightful gathering, and you have entertained us marvelously, she said, her voice ringing clear. But tell me, mortal, are you truly satisfied? You haven't tasted a thing. I met her gaze, steady and resolute. Your Majesty, I am filled with gratitude and joy from the stories shared and the laughter exchanged. That is nourishment enough for my soul. The court erupted in applause, their laughter ringing like the chimes of distant bells. The queen smiled wider, clearly entertained. Very well, you have survived another night with us. Your wit is sharper than the finest blade. As the Fae began to disperse, the queen approached me. You are always welcome here, mortal. Consider this your second invitation to our court. Thank you, your majesty, I said, bowing low. I look forward to many more evenings filled with tales and laughter. As I stepped back through the oak door and into the cool night air, I took a deep breath, feeling a sense of triumph wash over me. I had survived a second dinner with the Fae, navigating their labyrinthian etiquette without once succumbing to their delicious, treacherous offerings. More importantly, I had charmed my way into their favor, ensuring that this enchanting dance would continue. But I knew the Fae well enough to understand that every invitation came with its own set of challenges, and the next would undoubtedly be even more demanding. Still, as I walked away, I felt an exhilarating thrill. I was prepared to face whatever came next in this whimsical world, where danger danced with delight. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the landscape, I found myself standing at the edge of the grove once more. This time, however, there was an unmistakable weight in the air, a tension that thrummed like a taut string, vibrating with anticipation and uncertainty. The third invitation to the Fae dinner party was a harbinger of challenges to come, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was walking into a meticulously woven web of Fae magic. The ancient oak door swung open as I approached, revealing the same stunning hall I had come to know. Tonight it felt different. The room shimmered with an intensity that seemed to pulse with life, as if the very walls were eager to share in the festivities. The attendants darted around, their laughter echoing like the sound of tinkling chimes, while the table was spread with an extravagant banquet that promised both delight and danger. Welcome back, dear mortal, the queen's voice rang through the hall, as radiant as the moonlight streaming through the starry ceiling. She wore an ensemble of shimmering silver, glistening with jewels that looked like captured starlight. Tonight is a night of celebration, for you have proven yourself a worthy guest. I bowed deeply, my heart racing with the weight of her words. It is an honor to be here again, Your Majesty. Thank you for your kind invitation. As I took my seat at the head of the table, I took stock of my surroundings. The array of food was as dazzling as before, glimmering meats, luminous fruits, and beverages that sparkled like liquid diamonds. My stomach growled in protest, reminding me of the 3-day fast I'd gone in preparation for this moment. Are you not hungry? The Queen asked, a teasing glint in her eyes. It seems you are far too thin, dear mortal. Surely you must indulge this evening. I smiled, hoping to mask the growing tension within me. Your offerings are, as always, exquisite. However, I must honor the tradition I established on my first visit. I have vowed to keep my fast until the night's end, for my spirit finds nourishment in your stories and laughter. Clever! The Queen chuckled, her laughter ringing like a silver bell. But the true feast is meant to be shared, and I would hate to see you deny yourself the pleasures of our hospitality. I sensed the challenge in her words, a gauntlet thrown down that demanded my utmost cunning. I couldn't allow myself to waver. I had successfully navigated this web twice already, and I intended to emerge unscathed once more. As the attendants began to serve the first course, an array of shimmering translucent dishes, I quickly engaged the court with stories of the human world. Have you heard about the art of illusion in our realm? I began, recounting tales of magicians and performers who could weave wonders with mere shadows and light. The Fae listened intently, their eyes gleaming with intrigue. But the Queen remained fixed on me, her gaze piercing and playful. A delightful tale, but surely you must sample at least a taste. You risk fading away into the air like the mist if you deny yourself sustenance. Feigning a look of concern, I leaned closer. Your Majesty, while I do appreciate your worry, it is said that true magic lies in balance. Too much of a good thing can often lead to unexpected consequences. What would happen, I wonder, if I indulged in your feast? Would I find myself woven into the very fabric of your world? The court erupted in laughter, the tension easing ever so slightly. I had successfully deflected the Queen's attention, but I knew I couldn't rest easy yet. Each course that followed was more tempting than the last. Roasted delicacies floated by, their tantalizing scents wrapping around me like a warm embrace. But I held firm, distracting the Queen and her court with every tale I could muster. As I recounted the story of the great human hero who defied a dragon, the court hung on my every word, captivated by the drama of my tale. I played up the details, gesturing animatedly as if I were part of the story myself. But every so often I would pause and take in the food. The colors and textures danced before my eyes, and I could almost taste the sweetness of the fruits on my lips. But I pushed those desires down. Time slipped away in a blur of laughter and storytelling, but as the evening wore on, I felt a creeping unease. Queen, though entertained, watched me closely, playful smile never faltering. I knew better than to think I had completely evaded her scrutiny. The Fae were clever, and I was merely one piece in their intricate game. Finally, after what felt like hours of shared tales, the Queen rose again, a sly smile gracing her lips. It is time for our final course, and I must say, dear mortal, I have been rather generous with my hospitality tonight. But tell me, what reward do you seek for your cleverness? A hush fell over the court, and I felt their eyes upon me, the pressure building as I contemplated my response. What could I ask for? I could seek knowledge, or perhaps a trinket from their world, but something told me that whatever I chose would come with a price. Your Majesty, I said, taking a deeper breath to steady myself. I do not seek wealth or treasures. Instead, I wish for the gift of understanding. Understanding of your realm and the magic that binds us, so that I may carry your stories back to my world. A flicker of surprise danced across the Queen's features, quickly replaced by a knowing smile. Very well, dearest friend. You have proven yourself worthy of our trust. As she raised her goblet high, she declared, to our clever friend, who has danced through our court and played the game with grace, let them carry our stories far and wide. The entire court raised their goblets, and I felt a wave of magic pulse through the air. The final course was presented before me, a dish unlike any other, shimmering with colors that seemed to shift and swirl, glowed with a soft light, almost beckoning. This is the dish of enlightenment, the Queen explained, her voice low and conspiratorial. Consume it, and you will gain insight into our world. But be warned, it also binds you to us, forever. I hesitated, caught between the allure of knowledge and the risk of losing my freedom. But I had come this far. I couldn't let fear dictate my choices, but I couldn't consume it either. Not if I wanted to leave without falling into the depths of their magic. I am honored, Your Majesty, I said, my heart racing. But if I am to carry your stories, I must do so in a way that respects the bond between our worlds. I cannot consume this dish, but I would love to learn from it instead. The Queen's eyes narrowed, intrigued. How do you propose to do that? Let me share a tale instead, a tale that weaves the essence of your magic and my human experience. Allow me to reflect the light of your gift without consuming it. I met her gaze firmly, the challenge laid bare before us. The Queen considered my words, her lips curving into an approving smile. You have proven your wisdom time and again, mortal. Very well. Tell your tale, and I will grant you the understanding you seek. With that, I took a deep breath, my heart pounding with determination. I spun a story that intertwined the magic of the Fae with the struggles of humanity, creating a tapestry of experiences that honored both realms. As I spoke, I watched the Queen's expression shift from amusement to fascination, her interest piqued by the depth of my tale. By the time I finished, the court was enraptured, and I felt a surge of magic envelop me. The Queen raised her goblet once more, her eyes gleaming with approval. You have indeed honored us tonight, and I commend you for your wisdom. You shall leave our realm with the gift of understanding, and our stories shall echo in your heart forever. With that, she gestured, and a warm, shimmering light enveloped me, filling me with a sense of connection to the Fae and their world. As the light faded, I found myself standing on the edge of the grove, the night stillness surrounding me. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my experiences settle comfortably in my chest. I had survived the third and final dinner, not by consuming their food or drink, but by embracing the essence of who I was and sharing it with them. The Fae had rewarded my cleverness, allowing me to carry their stories back into the human world, while also binding me to their magic in a way that felt like a blessing rather than a curse. As I walked away from the grove, I knew that the Fae would always be a part of me, woven into the fabric of my being. I had become a bridge between our worlds, forever connected to their enchantment, and I smiled, eager to share the stories of the Fae and their court, knowing that they would dance upon my lips for all time. And I know that I would also return to the Fae and their court. sharing stories of mortality, of courage and fear, of strength and weakness, of wonder and indifference, of heroes and villains, of monsters and men. Just as I would feast upon the stories of the Fae Queen and her court, so too would they feast upon the stories from their dearest friend.